What's going on, gardeners? It's Sunday, November 13th, and the air is cold, but the sun is still warm here on the southeastern coast of North Carolina. And when this time of year happens, that means two different things. Number one, it is hoodie and shorts weather, and number two, it is the start of citrus season. That's why on today's video, I'm going to show you what just may be the best orange tree for anybody in a borderline zone or a northern zone to grow in ground, because it's super cold hardy, but also it's one of the most delicious varieties in existence. So for all of you who are in a warmer zone, this is a must grow as well. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell to receive new video notifications, and check out our Amazon storefront and spread shop in the video description for a list of the gardening products I use and awesome custom designed apparel and other gear. Your support is greatly appreciated. Did you know that you can grow citrus trees in ground in North Carolina? I've been doing it for years. I've been pushing my hardiness zone, and the fact of the matter is that there are a myriad of different varieties of commercial quality citrus that do great in ground in as cold as zone 8A, maybe some even really mild zone 7Bs if you're willing to protect them just a little bit. In fact, just a few weeks ago, I made a video that showed you 5 different varieties of super high quality citrus that can survive down to 10 degrees Fahrenheit, and I will link to that video above so you can take note of these amazing varieties. Have you ever dreamed of having your very own lemon tree in ground like I do, or maybe even your very own avocado tree? How am I growing such things in ground as far north as North Carolina? Well, all I do is I give them a little bit of cold protection, and you can see that right here. I have a pickle barrel that is full of water, and then I've also showed you in the past how to use plant jackets and incandescent Christmas lights to keep these trees a little bit warmer when we get those typical cold nights a few nights a year. And I'm going to link to a playlist above that have all of my cold protection techniques, because you can use things like incandescent lights and water barrels as a safe way to protect your trees and give them extra protection. So as long as you keep these super cold hardy varieties of citrus warm enough so they don't more than briefly dip into the mid to low teens, they will continue to grow for you, and the plants themselves will thrive. However, there is one more piece of the equation that you need to know. While there are numerous varieties of citrus trees that can survive down into the mid to low teens very briefly, and the plants themselves will grow and thrive as long as you keep them warm enough, citrus fruits itself are only hardy until about 25 to 26 degrees Fahrenheit. So even if you're growing a super hardy variety of citrus, because most of them ripen in the wintertime, if the citrus itself is exposed to temperatures below about 25 degrees, it could split and be destroyed. It's for that reason that I'm growing this Moro blood orange tree in a container. Unfortunately for me, these fruits don't ripen until late February to early March in my zone. So while a blood orange itself is a pretty cold hardy tree, and once established can survive down to about 18 to 20 degrees Fahrenheit, because the fruit is so non-hardy, it can only survive to be about 25 to 26 degrees Fahrenheit, I can't plant this tree in ground, because I'm very confident that I can keep it above 20 degrees Fahrenheit all winter using my cold protection techniques, but I do not think I will be able to keep it above 25 to 26 degrees all winter long. And that would beg the question, what's the point of planting a tree in ground if I can't adequately protect the fruit? That's why the best varieties for northern growers to grow if they want a sweet orange tree is generally the Satsumas, because Satsuma mandarin oranges ripen very early in the season. So most varieties of Satsumas will ripen at some time in November. And here in the southeast, things don't get truly cold with hard freezes until usually mid to late December. So by the time the hard freezes come in, the tree is usually picked clean and harvested. So we're not going to get those 25, 26 degree freezes until after I pick this clean. So because the tree is so hardy and can survive down to about 12 degrees once established, this is a wonderful variety for me to grow here in North Carolina. However, there is a downside to the Owari variety of Satsuma, and while this is probably my favorite variety of Satsuma overall, it is also one of the latest. So if you live north of me, say you wanted to try experimenting with growing citrus in ground in maybe southeastern Virginia, or further north of me in North Carolina, the problem with this tree is that the fruits usually don't ripen until after Thanksgiving. It's one of the latest varieties of Satsuma. So if you run out of warm weather, it could stall. Also, many of you may be growing citrus trees in containers much further north of me, and you run out of warm weather even earlier before I do, and this variety just may be a little bit too late for you. And you can see that on this tree. This tree is really just starting to put forth some ripe fruit. But they're still mostly green. A lot of them have green all over their shoulders. So they haven't fully turned yet. This is pretty far, I would say at least maybe 3 to 4 weeks away before I can really harvest ripe fruit. If you look over here, these oranges on here are almost completely green still. So this Owari, while it's a wonderful variety, the lateness can be a problem. But luckily, there is a solution, and that solution is the Brown Select Satsuma. The Brown Select Satsuma is about 3 weeks earlier than the Owari Satsuma. And while there are early varieties of Satsumas out there, most early Satsumas are of vastly inferior quality. They're not very good. Owari is fantastic. It is commercial quality. It's absolutely delicious, but it's just a little late. Well, Brown Select is said to be just as good as Owari in terms of the tastiness and deliciousness of the fruit, but it's a full 3 weeks earlier. And take a look at this little tree. This tree is only 1.5 years old. It's only been in ground for a little bit more than a year, and it is loaded up with fruits, and these fruits are far ahead of the Owari. They're almost completely ripe. And factor in that Owari Satsuma has been in ground for over 4 years, so it's chugging along. It's a much more mature tree, and this one is still way ahead of it in terms of ripening. If both of them were the same age and the same size, this one would be even further ahead more than likely. And the other benefit of this tree is that it is just as cold hardy as Owari. This is known to be hardy down to 12 degrees Fahrenheit when fully established. And last year we got down to 14 degrees and also had an ice storm a few days before that. And just using these water barrels as heat protection, this tree suffered absolutely no damage at all with a frost cloth pulled over it with the water barrel under it. So absolutely fantastic cold performance, and look what I'm given in terms of yields. This is just phenomenal. So for those of you that are in the south or the southeast or a little bit further inland or north of me, or maybe you have a wonderful citrus container garden that you love growing because it's a little bit too chilly to put any varieties of citrus in ground, this Brown Select is probably the best variety of sweet orange for you to grow because it's one of the most cold hardy varieties. It's almost seedless, and it's of amazing commercial quality fruit, and it is very early, all things considered, especially considering how good of a quality fruit it is. Now I'm going to get to do something I've been waiting for quite some time. I'm going to harvest my first Brown Select Satsuma, and I'm going to break into it, and we're going to check out the fruit quality and give it a taste test. Now, one thing that you must do when you harvest any Satsuma is you can't just pull the fruit off the tree. You have to clip it off with clippers like this. That's because Satsumas are what they call zippered skin. They peel off very easily. So if you don't cut them off the tree and you try to pull them off, the skin will tear and you won't be able to store them. All you have to do to peel off the skin is to just press your finger into the bottom of it, and all of that skin just peels off in a matter of seconds, and it reveals this absolutely gorgeous segmented orange that you see right here. And it looks to be probably seedless, or very, very close to seedless, since there probably wasn't much cross-pollination going on right here. So let's try our first Brown Select orange wedge. Wow. That is absolutely delicious, just wonderful seedless fruit. So what is interesting about mandarin oranges is how incredibly sweet they are. They're not as sour and tart as some oranges. They are a huge sugar rush. So if you like really sweet things, your mandarin oranges are a great bet. This one has one little seed in this piece right here. But what's really amazing is how good this orange is, despite the fact that it's basically on its first full season in ground. Because these young orange trees generally produce inferior fruit. So if this fruit is this amazingly good, and I really do mean it's pretty much up there with my Owari already. It's so incredibly good. If it is producing fruit this good, this early in its lifespan, I can't imagine how good it'll be on year 4 or 5 or 6 or 10. That is shockingly delicious. I'm going to eat this whole thing. Now, one thing that you'll notice on that tree is that the oranges were a little bit small, and that's because the tree is small and it's bearing so heavily and I didn't appropriately thin it, so all the fruit is small as a consequence. This is more like a standard size Satsuma that came off that tree, which is probably like a 4-inch fruit or so. Really nice size. Surprising that a tree can put out a tree that young can put out a fruit this nice. So I'm going to cut into this and give you a little cross section. And this one looks like it got a little bit of cross-pollination in it because there are some seeds that you can see right there. The Satsumas, if you grow them in isolation, they're generally seedless, or maybe they'll have one seed in them. Because they're back here with my kumquat and my navel orange, my caracara, there's a lot of cross-pollination, which creates more seeds. So that's probably why you're seeing seeds in here. If you want them to be mostly seedless, you'll want to grow them sort of off by themselves so you don't get cross-pollination from other citrus. So if you're looking for a variety of sweet citrus to grow in ground in a marginal or northern zone, or maybe you want a sweet orange tree that you can grow in a container in a more northern zone where you have shorter, cooler summers, really consider Brown Select, because I am so impressed by how good this fruit is considering how young the tree is. Owari may still be the gold standard when it comes to reputation for Satsuma mandarin oranges. However, I will tell you that I think this Brown Select may be just as good, and since it's several weeks earlier and it's also just as cold hardy, this is an incredible addition to anyone's garden if you're able to grow it, and I highly recommend this variety. So if you're thinking about adding an early cold hardy citrus tree to your collection, I strongly recommend you look into the Brown Select Satsuma. And whether you're looking for Brown Select or Owari or any other variety, I know many of you will ask where to buy citrus. Well, the person I would recommend you buy citrus from is Stan McKenzie from McKenzie Farms in Scranton, South Carolina. All of my grafted citrus trees are from Stan, and they're all grafted onto trifoliate rootstock, which imparts additional cold hardiness, and in addition, it keeps them very small. It dwarfs the trees to only about 6 to 8 feet, which is perfect for backyard gardening. Stan doesn't have an online store, but if you look up McKenzie Farms in Scranton, South Carolina on Google Maps, give him a call. You can place a phone order, and he will ship it to you very quickly. Stan's a great guy. He may be the biggest collector of cold hardy citrus in the entire United States, so I strongly recommend him. So everybody, if you found this video helpful, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell so you're notified when we release more videos like these. If you're curious about any of the products that I use in my garden, every product I use in real life is linked in my Amazon storefront in the video description, so expand that video description, click on the Amazon storefront link for everything I use in real life, and while you're there, check out my spread shop for custom merch if you want to support the channel. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see all of you again on the next video. Ooh, Daily Boy, it is such a beautiful day for a walk. You want to go for a run, buddy? Want to go for a run? Let's go for a run. Let's go for a run. Go, Dale, go. Go, Dale, go. Go, Dale, go. Go, Dale, go. Come on, Dale. Let's go. Come on, don't let Dad outrun you. He can't run. Come on, buddy. Come on, Daily. Good boy, Dale. Hot to trot, hot to trot. Come on. Come on. Well, you're going slow today, buddy. If I can outrun you, whoa. This is his second walk for the day.